Hi, I'm glad you could join me. I was hoping I could come to you a bit earlier, but I couldn't. But whatever the case, here we are. So Zambia this weekend takes on the Ivory Coast in a very big encounter. I think Zambia are on the cusp of qualification to the tournament, to which they've not qualified in the last three editions, and so I think that makes it a very big encounter. To start with, Zambia have put themselves in a very fantastic position to qualify for that tournament. At 9 points, they basically just need 1 point to confirm qualification to the tournament. And so I thought we could look at what lies ahead this weekend, how both teams are likely to approach the match. What could we see, the variations that could be at play, and everything related to the match. But I think before we get to that point, it's important to take a look at basically how we got ourselves into this position. So the last match Zambia played in this qualifying series, in fact, the last two matches Zambia played in this qualifying series were matches against Lesotho back-to-back, winning at home and also winning away in Lesotho. Zambia were played in a 1-4-3-3, if you like, which also looked to have a variation of a 1-4-1-4-1 in certain instances. What I saw in that match, I think the home match, Benson Sakala played as the best midfielder, but I think on a number of occasions you saw him being too drawn, deep into his own half, at times even maybe too close to the centre backs, and that initially meant that his midfielders could not move forward a lot more, and that's why you saw on a number of occasions Frankie Musonda taking up that role to push up a little bit higher, to push the midfield a bit higher, and eventually push the strikers basically into the positions that you want to see them. And that's why I was surprised that he wasn't hooked off in that match. Okay, we saw that change happen in the match that was played in South Africa, the second leg, and I think we saw a lot of positives from there. In that second leg, something that I observed as well in the midfield, Klingskangwa lost the ball 4 times in the first half, leading into attacks for the opposition. But I think he recovered from that fantastically in the second half. He put in an excellent shift, interpreted the space as he should have had. He found his strikers and basically had a better influence on the match overall. Now, getting into this weekend, how do we expect Zambia and Ivory Coast to line up? I think I expect a similar setup, a 1-4-3-3 or a 1-4-1-4-1, chiefly because both teams have got the kind of players that are going to fit into that formation. I wouldn't be surprised if Coach Avram Grant even went with a back three. Now, we should be careful when we talk about these formations, not to talk about formations without having particular players in mind. And so if he has to play with a back three, for example, which is something he did a lot of times when he coached in Ghana, we know that Stupila Sunzo has been recalled. So you wouldn't be surprised to see a back three of, Chandi, Stupila, and Frankie Chisenga. Then on the sides, you could possibly have Benedict Chepeshi, and on the other side, maybe Rodrick Kabwe. In the midfield, you could have a mix of Emmanuel, maybe Kapumbu there too. Then you have maybe Klings playing right behind Patson and the Fashion. That's just a possibility anyway. But whatever happens, I think Zambia could possibly go into a 1-4-3-3. The same thing could happen for the Ivorians. Anyway, they play like that. What could be key in winning this match? Look, I think both sides are going to be very attack-minded. Both sides, when they don't have the ball, they're going to try to be as compact as possible. And I think that means that then the half spaces have to be interpreted better, or the pockets of space have to be used better. Usually when teams play a 1-4-3-3, you see a lot of spaces, not a lot, but a number of spaces that are going to pop up on either side of the best midfielder and the fullback. And so those are spaces that could be very key in terms of finding joy in this match. Does Zambia have players that are able to get into those spaces and create a difference? Yes, a player like King Sangwa comes to mind, a player like Emmanuel Banda comes to mind. So at times it could even be your central striker. It could be a person Daka coming short to come and receive from there and then make an impact from there. At times, if you've got wingers that are very clever, you could actually have a winger get into that space so that it leaves the wide space for a fullback to bomb forward and come in and whip crosses from there. Is it something that the Zambian players are able to do? Yes, it's something that they are able to do. But even as they do this, it would be important to guard against quick breaks, because the opponent anyway are a very quick team. What other approach do I think we're going to see this weekend? I think it's going to work well if Zambia could adopt what you call a mixed approach, where they could either play it short or go long depending on what happens. And so you may want to play it short or play through the phases, but sometimes when the press is so high, which I expect to happen in certain instances of the match, then you may not be able to play through the press. And if you cannot play through the press, then you have to play over the press, which is basically chipping the ball over the first line of the press and possibly even the second line of defense to try and go through to your attack in terms of your second striker, or even through to the main striker. Alternatively, if that does not work, then you may have to play around the press, which is basically goalkeeper into your winger or goalkeeper into your advanced fullback. That could pay a lot of dividends, because I think the Ivorians are well adept as far as dealing with the press is concerned, as far as closing down the right spaces is concerned, and so playing around the press or over the press is something that we could do. So a good mix of both playing long and short could work. Not so much of the idea of playing long, especially that the players that are going to be facing are giants. They are much bigger than some of our players, and so aerially we could struggle. And after all, a central striker like Patson Daka, aerial football is not really his strength, and so if you put the ball in the air, you might be playing against his strength. But if you put the ball into the channel, then you're going to be playing to his strength, and that could bring a lot of joy. Having talked about the aerial threat, I think the Ivorians pose that aerial threat a lot as far as set pieces are concerned, you know, the throw-ins and any other dead balls, and so that is something that we must do well to take care of. And so rather than trying to deal with the with the cross, I would rather we basically do not actually allow the cross to come in. One would argue that Stopila is Sto, Frankie is Sto. But whatever the case, aerially, I do not really think that is really much of their strength. And considering that they are going to be playing against players which are much bigger and more prolific in the air, like Kwame, it gives you an indication that we are better off closing them down before they actually whip in those crosses. And I think we have the players that are able to do that. On the other hand, we could as well use a lot of set pieces to get joy in this match. Set pieces have the potential to win you a football match, especially in instances where the opposition defense is very tight, or especially in an instance where you basically cannot get a shot on target. But then if you're able to win set pieces in and around the box, you get some joy. We know that we got a winner in that fashion in the match against the Comoro Island that was played in Lusaka through Kings Kangwa. I think he's very good on the set pieces. And so against that background, you'd be thinking, set pieces around the penalty box could be very beneficial for Zambia. On the other side, we could get a bit of joy from corners as long as they are taken in a mixed fashion. The ball is recycled. We might possibly get joy from there, and so both sides, that's something that they could be looking to exploit. Very key in this match actually is going to be the rest structures that both teams are going to adopt. So a rest structure is basically what structure do you adopt when you are attacking. What structure do you leave at the back, so that in case you suffer a loss of possession, how do you then reorganize yourself? Because remember, both sets of teams have got very quick players, especially on the break. For the Ivory Coast, you're looking at a player like Max Cradell, for example. Max Okone is actually very quick as well. On the Zambian side, you're looking at a player like Lamek Banda, very quick. And so against that background, both teams would have to pay a lot of attention to how they do their rest structure. So when they are attacking, what is their rest defense? And similarly, when they are defending, what is their rest attack? So how many players do you leave in an attack-minded position, so that the moment you win the ball back, you're able to hit long and, basically go on a counter or go on a quick break. So that is something that really has to be taken care of. And I think the rest structures are going to be very key as to what we're going to see in this match. And I think maybe second from last, goalkeepers are going to be very key in this match. You see, it's one of those matches which could be decided by one crucial save, could be decided by maybe just one blunder by a goalkeeper, and then the team concedes and it gets to lose the match. And so I think that goalkeepers have to be on top of their game if if joy is going to be gotten from this match, not just in making the sales, but also in terms of their distribution, in terms of their game management, in terms of managing the tempo, because remember, a goalkeeper can do all those things for their team. But above everything else, I think if Zambia has to win this match, there is need for conviction amongst the players that they are able to deliver. There is need for conviction amongst their players that this is a perfect opportunity that has not been seen in a long time, that can take Zambia to the AFCON. And so, yeah, that's what I thought primarily I could share at this stage, hoping that we see some good football on the day, hoping that we see some balanced structures, hoping that we see some good attacking play, we see some resolute defending, but above all that we see some good efficiency, and that we see players that are convinced that their chance has come and be willing to take that chance. Let me know what you think about this submission. Also, let me know what you think generally about the match that lies ahead. I'll be glad to know what you think and also engage. Thank you for joining me. And